Jagacharya Astotara Sata Sri Srinath, His Divine Grace up high, Charanara Govinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Gruntaraj Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta ki, Samaveta Bhaktarinda ki, Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Jai Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. From Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta Madhya, chapter 9, text number 245. Lord Chaitanya's on pilgrimage, South India. And now we're going to come to the pastime when he meets the Tattvavadis, who are the followers of Madhvacharya. So please repeat. Madhvacharya stani aila Janha Tattvavadi. Dupiti Krishna Dekitahan Haila Premon Madi. Madhvacharya stani aila Janha Tattvavadi. Dupiti Krishna Dekitahan Haila Premon Madi. Madhvacharya stani aila Janha Tattvavadi. Dupiti Krishna Dekitahan Haila Premon Madi. Ladies? Anyone else? Word for word. Madhva Acharya Sthani. At the place of Madhvacharya. Aila arrived. Janha where? Tattvavadi philosophers known as Tattvavadis. Udupiti at the place known as Udupi. Krishna deity of Lord Krishna, Dekhi, seeing, Tahan, there, Haila, became, Prema Unmadi, mad in ecstasy. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Caitanya Mahaprabhu next arrived in Udupi, the place of Madhvacharya, where the philosophers known as Tattvavadis resided. There he saw the deity of Lord Krishna and became mad with ecstasy. Please repeat. Caitanya Mahaprabhu next arrived in Udupi, the place of Madhvacharya, where the philosophers known as Tattvavadis resided. There he saw the deity of Lord Krishna and became mad with ecstasy. It's a long purport. We're actually going to hear the list of the parampara coming in the Madhvacharya Sampradaya. That comes on the last page. So it's 2 pages. Sripad Madhvacharya took his birth near Udupi, which is situated in the South Kannada district of South India, just west of Sahyadri. This is the chief city of the South Kannada province and is near the city of Mangalore, which is situated to the south of Udupi. This is on the west coast, in case anyone doesn't know. Apparently it's got a very nice climate. I know several devotees that like to visit Udupi. They have a restaurant which is prasadam. They serve prasadam. Near the city of Udupi is a place called Caitanya-caritāmṛta, where Madhvacharya took his birth in a Shivali Brahmana dynasty as the son of Madhya Bhatta in the year 1040 Shakabda, which is AD 1118. According to some, he was born in the year 1160 Shakabda, which is 1238 AD. Madhya means middle house, so it suggests that perhaps we don't know the actual name of the father of Madhvacharya, but he lived in the middle house, so he gets the name Madhya, potentially. In his childhood, Madhvacharya was known as, anyone know? You are reading it, are you? That's cheating. None of you. Yes, Vasudeva. Madhvacharya was known as Vasudeva, and there are some wonderful stories surrounding him. It is said that once, when his father had piled up many debts, Madhvacharya converted tamarind seeds into actual coins to pay them off. When he was 5 years old, he was offered the sacred thread. A demon named Maniman lived near his abode in the form of a snake, and at the age of 5, Madhvacharya killed that snake with the toe of his left foot. When his mother was very much disturbed, he would appear before her in one jump. Why do you think Madhvacharya jumps? Vayu? Does Vayu jump? He is the son of Vayu. He actually has three identities. Vayu is one of them. Who else? Hanuman, yes. So Hanuman is the jumping. It's actually said when he went on pilgrimage, he would jump from mountain peak to mountain peak, and his followers couldn't keep up with him. He's a third personality. He is Vayu, he is Hanuman, and he is Bhima. Okay? One time he ate 4,000 bananas in one go. You see? Anyway, so Vayu, Bhima, and Hanuman, they're all very powerful, very strong. So as you will gather from the purport as we read more, that Madhvacharya was famed for his material strength as well as his spiritual prowess. So let us carry on. We mentioned how he jumped whenever his mother called. He was a great scholar even in childhood, and although his father did not agree, he accepted sannyas at the age of 12. Yes, very advanced. Upon receiving sannyas from Achyuta Preksha, he received the name Purna Pragya Tirtha. Who knows the name of the Vedanta Sutra commentary of Madhvacharya? Anyone? It is known as Purna Pragya Bhashya. Okay, that's his sannyas name, Purna Pragya Tirtha. After traveling all over India, he finally discussed scriptures with Vidya Shankara, the exalted leader of the Sringeri Mutt. Vidya Shankara was actually diminished in the presence of Madhvacharya. Accompanied by Satyatirtha, Madhvacharya went to Badarik Ashram. It was there that he met Vyasadeva and explained his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita before him. Thus he became a great scholar by studying before Vyasadeva. By the time he came to the Ananda Mutt from Badarik Ashram, Madhvacharya had finished his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. His companion, Satyatirtha, wrote down the entire commentary. When Madhvacharya returned from Badarik Ashram, he went to Ganjama, which is on the bank of the river Godavari. Why is the Godavari famous for Gaudiya Vaishnavas? What famous conversation took place there? Ramananda Roy and Lord Chaitanya, yes. That was in the last chapter, Madhya Lila chapter 8. And there was a Pada Pit installed there. You know the Gaudiya Mat? They had this conception. Back to Siddhanta Saraswati, he wanted 108 foot kind of plaques established all over India in the places where Lord Chaitanya went on pilgrimage. And apparently they managed around 8 while he was physically present. But after his departure, some of his disciples established more. So it's very important that we understand wherever the saintly persons go, they become holy places, and we establish tirthas there. So that's just a little interesting project that the Gaudiya Mat was involved in and did not complete, as far as I'm aware. Anyway, let us continue. There he met with 2 learned scholars, this is in Godavari, named Shobhana Bhatta and Swami Shastri. Later, these scholars became known in the disciplic succession of Madhvacharya as Padmanabha Tirtha and Narahari Tirtha. So we notice that the Tirtha name is a name for sannyasis, very, very common in this particular lineage. When he returned to Udupi, he would sometimes bathe in the ocean. On such an occasion, he composed a prayer in 5 chapters. Once, while sitting beside the sea, engrossed in meditation upon Lord Krishna, he saw that a large boat containing goods for Dwarka was in danger. He gave some signs by which the boat could approach the shore, and it was saved. This story is described differently in different places. In one place, it's described how he took his uttariya, his cloth, and he went like this, and it created a huge wind, of course, his Vayu. And that wind was strong enough to dislodge the boat which had become grounded on the ocean bed. And this is all pastime, as we're about to hear. He gave some signs by which the boat could approach the shore, and it was saved. The owners of the boat wanted to give him a present, and at the time Madhvacharya agreed to take some gopi chandan. He received a big lump of gopi chandan, and as it was being brought to him, it broke apart and revealed a large deity of Lord Krishna. So the idea is that gopi chandan was in such abundance that the boats, in order that they didn't capsize, they would keep a heavy weight at the bottom, and they would use generally things like gopi chandan. That's how prevalent it was. So this amazing pastime, that the chandan breaks open to reveal a deity of Krishna. And what is the name of that deity? Does anyone know? Udupi Krishna, yes. And also Nartana Gopal, dancing Gopal. The deity had a stick in one hand and a lump of food in the other. As soon as Madhvacharya received the deity of Krishna in this way, he composed a prayer. The deity, now we're going to we hear more about the strength of Madhvacharya. The deity was so heavy that not even 30 people could lift it. Yet, Madhvacharya personally brought this deity to Udupi. 8 of Madhvacharya's sannyas disciples became directors of his 8 monasteries. There's the succession plan, you see. Acharyas always have a succession plan. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, his succession plan was establish a GBC, governing body, and await a self-effulgent Acharya. And they didn't do that properly according to Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada was very much eager, and he took it very seriously to establish a GBC, not after he departed, but while he was present, to make sure that the same thing did not happen again. Carrying on, worship of Lord Krishna deity is still going on at Udupi according to the plans Madhvacharya established. Madhvacharya then, for the second time, visited Badarakashram. While he was passing through Maharashtra, the local kin was digging a big lake for the public benefit. As Madhvacharya passed through that area with his disciples, he was also obliged to help in the excavation. After some time, when Madhvacharya visited the king, he engaged the king in that work and departed with his disciples. Often in the province of Ganga Pradesh, there were fights between Hindus and Muslims. The Hindus were on one bank of the river and the Muslims on the other. Due to the community tension, no boat was available for crossing the river. The Muslim soldiers were always stopping passengers on the other side. But Madhvacharya did not care for these soldiers. He crossed the river anyway, and when he met the soldiers on the other side, he was brought before the king. The Muslim king was so pleased with him that he wanted to give him a kingdom and some money, but Madhvacharya refused. Now, it's not mentioned why the king was pleased, but sometimes when people show guts to authorities, the authorities become pleased. Prabhupada once told a story. There was a man, owner of a factory, and he once said, "No one from now on can come to work wearing tilak." And then the next day, hundreds of people turned up without tilak, and then there was a couple of people came with tilak. And he was very pleased. He said, this is a real Vaishnav. Do you know that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would not be seen without wearing tilak? So after he would put on tilak, and no one would see him. He'd be in his room. He would not be seen. He would not come out of his room unless he was wearing tilak. So it's an important mark of the Vaishnav. So the Muslim king was so pleased with him that he wanted to give him a kingdom and some money, but Madhvacharya refused. While walking on the road, he was attacked by some dacoits. Oh, that wasn't a good idea, was it? But by his bodily strength, he killed them all. When his companion Satyatirtha was attacked by a tiger, Madhvacharya separated them by virtue of his great strength. When he met Vyasadeva, he received from him the Shalagram Shila, known as Ashtamurti. After this, he summarized the Mahabharata. So who knows the name of the commentary on the Mahabharata by Madhvacharya? Anyone know? This is actually quite important because the Mahabharata is known to be a corrupted text. We don't actually know exactly which verses are part of the original and which have been added. However, we do have the Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnaya, which is the commentary from Madhvacharya. So if it's written there, we can take it as authoritative. Madhvacharya's devotion to the Lord and his erudite scholarship became known throughout India. Consequently, the owners of the Sringeri mat established by Shankaracharya became a little perturbed. At that time, the followers of Shankaracharya were afraid of Madhvacharya's rising power, and they began to tease Madhvacharya's disciples in many ways. There was even an attempt to prove that the disciplic succession of Madhvacharya was not in line with Vedic principles. That's nothing new. It happens all the time, right? Trying to establish another line isn't bona fide. It happened when Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was present. The Gaudiya Vaishnavas worshipping Radha Krishna, and then the Ramanandis, which is a sect from the Ramanuja Sampradaya, they criticized the worship of Radha Krishna. And in order to establish that the Gaudiya line is bona fide, Baladev Vijayabhushana, inspired by Govinda himself, wrote a commentary known as Govinda Bhashya. Because the Ramanandis, they said, well, if you're a bona fide Sampradaya, you must have a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. And of course, they said, we are bona fide, but our commentary is Madhvacharyas, because we're part of the Madhva Sampradaya. But they did not accept. So then we now have another commentary known as Govinda Bhashya, which is the Gaudiya commentary. So here's a question. How many Sampradayas are there? 4. Anyone else got another answer? I'm looking for a different answer. It's nuanced. Some say there are 5. So the 5th one is known as the Gaudiya Sampradaya. Now, this is not just some speculation. It was actually written in the literature of the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati during his presence, I believe. So they would say that this Sampradaya is known as the Caitanya Sampradaya. Now, all Sampradayas have a original person who receives the knowledge. For example, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, okay, that's our Sampradaya. Brahma is the original, so he's known as the Adi Guru. The original guru of each Sampradaya is known as the Adi Guru. So what are the 4 Sampradayas that we're referring to? Brahma is the Adi Guru of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. What other Sampradayas are there? Rudra Sampradaya, who's the Adi Guru? Oh, yes, any? Sri Sampradaya and Adi Guru is? Yes, and the final one? And the Adi Gurus? Yes. Oh, thank you. And Sanat Kumar, yes. So here's a question for you. I read it in I think it was the Harmonist magazine. It could have been Nadia Prakash, I forget which. So when they're describing the Caitanya Sampradaya, who do you think are the Adi Guru or Gurus of the Caitanya Sampradaya? The Goswamis, thank you very much. Now here's the next question. As well as having Adi Gurus, each Sampradaya has a Sampradaya Acharya. So Madhva is, and they establish the Siddhanta very thoroughly. They write commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra. So the Madhva Sampradaya, or the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, the Sampradaya Acharya is Madhvacharya. For the Sri Sampradaya, it is? Thank you. For the Rudra Sampradaya? Did someone say Shankaracharya? Prabhuji. No. It is Vishnu Swami. And the Kumara Sampradaya? Nimbarka, thank you very much. So now the question is, who do you think would be the Sampradaya Acharya for the Gaudiya Sampradaya? Okay, I knew you wouldn't get this right. But bear in mind, who's writing this? The disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Now can you guess? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He was described as the Sampradaya Acharya of the Gaudiya Sampradaya. How amazing is that? Incredible. It's just such an exalted position to have. So let us carry on. How did I get onto that? We were discussing the Mahabharata. That's where we got to. I just thought it's better, a long purport, it's good to break it up, I think. I'm trying to find where I was. Oh yes, there was an attempt to prove that the disciplic succession of Madhvacharya was not in line with Vedic principles. That's where we departed. A person named Pundarik Puri, a follower of the Mayavad philosophy of Shankaracharya, came before Madhvacharya to discuss the Shastras. It is said that all of Madhvacharya's books were taken away, but later they were found with the help of King Jai Singha, ruler of Kumla. In discussion, Pundarik Puri was defeated by Madhvacharya. A great personality named Trivikramacharya, who was a resident of Vishnumangala, became Madhvacharya's disciple, and his son later became Narayanacharya, the composer of Sri Madhva Vijaya. Has anyone heard of this book? Sri Madhva Vijaya. It is the biography of Madhvacharya. After the death of Trivikramacharya, the younger brother of Narayan Acharya took sannyas and later became known as Vishnu Tirtha. It was reputed that there was no limit to the bodily strength of Purna Pragya, Madhvacharya. There was a person named Kadanjari who was famed for possessing the strength of 30 men. Madhvacharya placed the big toe of his foot upon the ground and asked the man to separate it from the ground. But the great strong man could not do so, even after great effort. Srila Madhvacharya passed from this material world at the age of 80 while writing a commentary on the Aitareya Upanishad. For further information about Madhvacharya, one should read Madhva Vijaya by, who knows, it was mentioned before, Narayan Acharya. The Acharyas of the Madhva Sampradaya established Udupi as the chief center, and the monastery there was known as Uttararadhi Mat. A list of the different centers of the Madhvacharya Sampradaya can be found at Udupi, and their mat commanders are Vishnu Tirtha, that's the Shodha Mat, Janardhan Tirtha, the Krishna Pura Mat, Vamana Tirtha from the Kanura Mat, Risingha Tirtha from the Adamara Mat, Upendra Tirtha from the Putugi Mat, Rama Tirtha from the Sri Rura Mat, Rishikesha Tirtha from the Palimara Mat, and number 8, remember it was mentioned previously, 8, Akshobhya Tirtha from the Pejavara Mat. It's very technical, this purport, and there's more to come. The disciplic succession of the Madhvacharya Sampradaya is as follows. The dates are those of birth in the Shakabda era. I won't do all the dates. They're not, most of them are not mentioned, but the later ones are. Well, some of them are. For Christian era, dates add 78 years. So if you want to go from Shakabda era to Christian era, there's a little tip for you all. Add 78. So, does anyone know where the Hansa avatar is described in Srimad Bhagavatam? It connects to this. Okay, correct. And who's Hansa avatar speaking to? Brahma, thank you. The 4 Kumaras and Brahma. I don't remember, it could be both, right? Definitely 4 Kumaras are mentioned. So listen to this. This is the lineage, the Sampradaya. Number 1 is Hansa Paramatma. Number 2, Chaturmukha Brahma, as Sridivas Prabhu said. Number 3, Shanakadi, which means the 4 Kumaras, you see. So if you want to know more about how the knowledge was imparted, then go to the 11th canto. It's actually chapter 13 of the 11th canto, which is part of the Uddhava Gita. Uddhava Gita is like the Bhagavad Gita, many similar verses, many similar chapters, and it's actually said to be even more elevated than the Bhagavad Gita. So if you want to read, most people read the Bhagavad Gita many, many times, but very few people read the Uddhava Gita. If you read the Uddhava Gita, you'll see so many similarities, so many, how should we say, parallel verses. There's even a chapter, like we have chapter 10 of the opulences of the Supreme in the Bhagavad Gita. There's a similar chapter in the Uddhava Gita. I don't know why there's more, but there's some mention of the gopis. If you research that, there may be an answer given. But it's also longer. So it goes into more depth. Number 4, Durrasa, then Jnananidhi, Garuda Vahana, Kaivalya Tirtha, and I'm going to read a long list, which is 45. And before I complete this list, I'm going to give you some motivation to read this, to hear this. Do you know that in the Gaudiya Mat, for Mangalarti, they didn't sing Sangsara Dava Nanalida Loka. They actually sung that before Mangalarti. But during Mangalarti, they sung several bhajans. One of them was the Parampara as composed by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Krishna Hoiti Chaturmukha. You know this. So imagine every day singing the list of all the acharyas in the Sampradaya. It's very, very important. So when you hear lists of Sampradayas, then you should switch on and think, this is very important, these personalities can bless us, you see. So we got to number Garuda Vahana, that was number 6. Then Kaivalya-tirtha, Gyanesh-tirtha, Para-tirtha, Satyapragya-tirtha, Pragya-tirtha, Achyuta-prekshacharya-tirtha, Sri Madhvacharya. Okay, now that's the Sampradaya-charya, remember? And this is 1014 Shaka. Then we have Padmanabha, Narahari. See, notice how the tirtha has been dropped for a bit. Madhva and Akshobhya. Then Jaya-tirtha, Vijadiraj, Kavindra, Vagisha. Vagisha is another name for Northern Singhadev, just to let you know. Ramachandra, Vijayanidhi, Sri Raghunath, Rajuvarya, who spoke with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's written in brackets, that's interesting. Raghutama, Vedavyas, Vijadisha, Vedanidhi, Satyavrata, Satyanidhi, Satyanata, Satyabhinava, Satyapurna, Satyavijaya, Satyapriya, Satyabodha, Satyasanda, Satyavara, Satyadharma, Satyasankalpa, Satyasantushta. Very loyal to the Satya name at this stage, right? Satyaparayana, Satyakama, Satyeshta, Satyaparakrama, Adira, Satyadira Tirtha. Shri Radha Gokulananda Ki Jai. So that was 45 in that list there. So now we have the Sampradaya list of the Madhva Sampradaya. After the 16th Acharya, Vijadiraj Tirtha, which was mentioned a while ago, it was one of the names I read out. It was the last name I read out. There was another disciplic succession, including Rajendra Tirtha, Vijayadvaj Purushottam, Subramanya, and Vyasaraj. The 19th Acharya, Ramachandra Tirtha, had another disciplic succession, including Vibhudendra, Jitamitra, Raghunandana, Surendra, Vijendra, Sudindra, and Raghavendra Tirtha. We finished. Now the last sentence is going to be really funny. We'll come to that in a minute. Well, I find it funny. To date, in the Udupi monastery, there are another 14 Madhva Tirtha sannyasis. As stated, Udupi is situated beside the sea in South Kannada, about 36 miles north of Mangalore. And here's the last sentence. Most of the information in this purport is available from the South Canada Manual and the Bombay Gazette. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Madhvacharya Stani Aila Janha Tatvavadi Udipati Krishna Deki Tahan Aila Premonmadi. Okay, if you want. Jai. In the translation again, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next arrived at Udupi, the place of Madhvacharya, where the philosophers known as Tattvavadis resided. There he saw the deity of Lord Krishna and became mad with ecstasy. Om Jnanatamrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So it was half an hour ago that I began the purport, and I made a few comments here and there. So please give me your blessings that I may say something relevant, something bona fide, hopefully something inspiring, so that we can properly glorify Madhvacharya and Lord Chaitanya and the Caitanya-caritāmṛta. Caitanya-caritāmṛta Ki Jai. I'm going to begin by talking about the philosophical precepts upon which the Gaudiya Sampradaya is based. And there are 10 precepts, and there's a name for this in Sanskrit. Maybe back to Peter knows if he's not sleeping. Do you know the name of the name for the 10 truths? What's the word in Sanskrit? Divers, yes. Dasha Mula Tattva. Dasha means 10, Mula means root, Tattva, truths. So one may wonder where this came from. It's interesting that in the Gaudiya Mat, currently I'm reading the biography of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, the biography known as Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhav. I've read it before. It's one of my favorite books. And so some of the things I'm saying is connected to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati for that reason. So the Dashamula Tattva is something that it's a little bit obscure from our perspective. It's not something that Prabhupada would discuss very much. I'm not even sure if he discussed it at all. We'd have to check the database on that one. But it was very much core material in the Gaudiya Mat. And it's said that although there were many scholars in the Gaudiya Mat, there were also many devotees who weren't very scholarly. But even those devotees, they had to be very familiar with the Dashamula Tattva, the 10 key truths of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And the reason I'm bringing this up, we'll go through the 10 truths, is because it's very similar to 9 philosophical points presented by Madhvacharya. Now, I don't know the philosophy of Madhvacharya in detail, but if there's one thing to know, we can remember one thing, that he established 9 truths. Now, I'll read you out what those 9 truths are, and then we'll discuss the Dashamula Tattva. So the first one is, Hari is supreme. The next one, the world is necessarily real. Now remember, Madhvacharya, one of his particular missions was to defeat Mayavad philosophy. Therefore, the world is necessarily real. That goes in contradistinction to the Mayavad philosophy. Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mitya. This is a aphorism that the Mayavadis often use, which means Brahma is truth, and Jagan Mitya means the material world is an illusion. It doesn't exist. It's like a dream. And we as Vaishnavas say, well, it's illusory because it's not of lasting existence, and the value that we place on it is not of any ultimate value. In that sense, it's illusory, but it's actually real. Why? Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shruyate. The Lord has many, many potencies, and included within those potencies are the potencies that create this universe, you see. So it factually exists. It's not just an illusion. Number 3, we're on 3 out of 9. The differences are real as well. That needs some unpacking. I won't try and explain that one. The living entities, number 4, are constitutionally servants of Vishnu. So we say, Jivera Swarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas. That's Mahaprabhu's statement on the fact that the living entities are constitutionally servants of Vishnu. Number 5, but they reach distinct destinations according to their activities. So we don't all have the same destination. Number 6, mukti is experienced when one knows the self, that knowledge bringing true joy. That knowledge bringing true joy, okay? So in self-knowledge, there's also a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Muktir idvanyadrupam svarupena vyavastite. Mukti means to give up false designations and to be established in one's real identity, which means eternal servant of Krishna. That's what real liberation means. It doesn't just mean transcending the modes of material nature. Number 7, and uninterrupted bhakti is how one attains mukti. Number 8, perception, inference, and testimony are the fundamental sources of valid knowledge. So that category, that's got a different category. That's praman. Truths can be divided into praman and prameya. Praman is what is our knowledge, where do we get knowledge from, and prameya is what is the object of that knowledge. So the other truths are prameya, this one's praman. The same isn't true in the Dashamula Tattva. The first truth is known as praman. In other words, what is counted as evidence, and the other truth, the other 9 truths are known as prameya, which means what we establish from the praman. Number 9, Hari alone is to be understood from studying the Vedas. So the only purpose, that's like a Bhagavad Gita verse, Vedaischa Saivai Rahameva Vejaha. By all the Vedas I am to be known. So it said that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he established the Dashamula Tattva from these 9 truths of Madhvacharya. So we have this lovely connection to the Madhvacharya. Of course, one may ask the question, why did the Ramanandis think that the Gaudiya Vaishnavas were separate from Madhvacharya? There's obviously a fundamental reason for that. At what point in the Madhva Sampradaya did something significant happen? And it wasn't exactly at the point of Lord Chaitanya. It was just prior to that. Who knows the Acharya in our Sampradaya that actually changed the mood of the Sampradaya? It's one of the gurus, predecessors of Lord Chaitanya. Yes, Madhavendra Puri. And Prabhuji, would you like to see what he changed? What did he introduce? Separation of Radharani from Krishna. That's wonderful. Now, there's a famous verse. This verse is described as uncovering the door of ecstasy. Ai dina dayadranata he maturanata kadavalokese. Hridayam tvadaloka kataram doita brahmiti kim karomyaham. The meaning of this is, it's actually Radharani speaking. She's saying, O Maturanat. Of course, Radharani is feeling separation from Krishna, as you pointed out, separation. So the word Maturanat, it has deep ecstasy in connection with Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Because when you say Maturanat, you automatically think Krishna's not in Vrindavan. Therefore, this mood of separation comes up. So Maturanat's a beautiful name for Krishna. Don't think it's a lesser name because it's referring to Mathura and not Vrindavan. Maturanat means it brings us the mood of separation. So Radharani is saying, "Oh Lord, Maturanat, it's Ai Dina Dayadra, O compassionate one, Maturanat Kadavalokti. Where are you? My heart is afflicted by not being able to see you. My mind is reeling. What shall I do?" Roughly like this. Now Madhavendra Puri, when he was leaving this world, he was reciting this verse. Very, very deep bhav, very deep separation from Krishna. This is the highest. And this verse, as Prabhupada mentioned in one purport, it uncovers the door to ecstasy. It's a very, very deep verse. When Madhavendra Puri was passing from this world, two disciples were present, Ishvara Puri, Ramachandra Puri. Ramachandra Puri was an unfortunate character. He did not understand the inner mood of his guru, and he chastised him. He said, "Do not lament, be fixed in Supreme Brahman." That's what he said. Madhvacharya, I do not want to see this person again, and he banished him. Because he didn't understand that this suffering that Madhavendra Puri was exhibiting, this lamentation, wasn't material. It was actually a deep ecstasy of separation from Krishna. But this foolish disciple, Ramachandra Puri, he thought, being established in Supreme Brahman, na sochate na kankshate, one does not lament, one does not become happy or lament. This is the platform he was thinking. And that short-sightedness on his part was a grave offense. And this is interesting. What was the result of that offense? He became an offensive person. Now, that's an interesting one. What is if we commit offense, we may suffer. We may suffer leprosy. There's examples in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta. In the case of Ramachandra Puri, the result of his offense was he became an offensive person by nature. So he criticized everyone. He even criticized the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who remembers what Ramachandra criticized him for? Eating too much. Yes. He would feed, and he would do this. He would feed the Vaishnavas too much. They wouldn't want, and he would feed them, and then he would criticize them. You've eaten too much. That's the kind of person he was. So one time he saw some ants in the room. Mahaprabhu saw these ants. There's ants in the room with Mahaprabhu, and he said, "Just see ants. That means sweets. That means he's overeating." And Mahaprabhu, because Ramachandra Puri was the godbrother of Ishvara Puri, who is the guru of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he was very respectful to Ramachandra Puri and did not chastise him. And he accepted the chastisement of Ramachandra Puri, and he reduced his eating. And the disciples of Lord Chaitanya, actually the Shiksha disciples, he wasn't a Diksha guru, they were so disappointed because they loved to feed. They knew that Mahaprabhu is beyond reproach. They loved to feed him, and they felt very anxiety that he was reducing his eating because of Ramachandra Puri. You see. So there's now, in contrast, the fate of Ishvara Puri, he then becomes the the flow of nectar is coming through Ishvarapuri because he received the mercy. And how did he receive the mercy of Madhavendra Puri? What did he do? Yes. When Madhavendra Puri was infirm, could not look after himself, Ishvarapuri was doing all the stuff that you have to do when someone can't get out of bed. You have to clean them, right? So he would do all this stuff. He would serve the body of the Acharya, and he got special mercy, you see. So there's a fate. So anyway, we were discussing the why it was that the Madhva Sampradaya is distinct from the Gaudiya Sampradaya. So Prabhupada explains that up until that time of Madhavendra Puri, there was not proper understanding of the conjugal relationship between Radha and Krishna. Then that became very prominent afterwards, you see. So the Dashamula Tattva, so it begins, Amnaya Praha Tattvam Harim Iha Paramam Sarva Shaktim Rasabdim. That's the first line. This is known as the Karaka verse. It means the introductory verse. This verse is just going to list the 10 truths. So the first truth, Amnaya Praha. Praha means that it is said. It is said that Amnaya is our evidence. So Amnaya is a word that needs to be unpacked. It means, when you look at the teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, it means the Srimad Bhagavatam, the works of our acharyas, the commentaries of our acharyas, the Vedas, the Puranas, all the Vedic literature, everything that is in pursuance of the Vedic version. We have this saying in the morning when we chant offences. We blaspheme Vedic literature and literatures in pursuance of the Vedic version. We don't blaspheme any of those literatures because they are all what's classed as Amnaya, or source of knowledge. It said, Brahma Pramada Vipralipsa Karana Patava Arshavigyavakyanahi Dosha Ishab, that for the sages, self-realized souls, there is no fault. They are perfect seers of the truth. And whatever they see, they write it down in their books. These books then become our evidence. Because we may be conditioned souls. I am a conditioned soul. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. Maybe we have self-realized people here. I never know. But we have the words, recorded words of these perfected beings, and that we take that as being more authoritative than what we see with our eyes, and more authoritative than what we conjecture through logic. Shabda is truth, higher truth is self-manifest. Svata pramana veda, pramana shiromani. In the Caitanya-caritāmṛta Madhya it is said, the self-evident truth of the Vedas, svata pramana veda. Pramana shiromani, it's our topmost evidence. And anything else, anuman and prajaksha, which means, anuman means inference, prajaksha means what we see through our senses, that is inferior knowledge, you see. So that's the first truth, anaya praha. Then tattvam harim iha paramam. The highest truth is harim, means Hari or Krishna. Because as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, whenever we see the word Hari, we think, oh, that's Krishna. So we translate it as Krishna. Krishna is the highest truth. So who can tell me a verse from the scriptures that says that Krishna is the highest truth? Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Yes, this is known as the Paribhasa Sutra of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So where in the Bhagavad Gita is it said that Krishna is the highest truth? Or where does Krishna himself say it? Yes, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. It's probably said many places, but that is the one I was thinking of, and you were thinking of the same. But going back to Praha, but Amnaya meaning Vedic conclusion, where in the Bhagavad Gita do we find Praman, or this discussion of what is authoritative? Anywhere? There's a mention of the Vedanta Sutra. Yeah. Does anyone know? You know the verse? Vidaischa Saivaya Rahmeva Vijo, by all the Vedas I am to be known. Evam parampara praptam. The parampara, that's our source of knowledge. And Krishna talks about the Vedanta Sutra, Sutrapada. Do you remember the verse? I forget the verse. Hetu madbi vinirtishet is something like that. Anyway, when Arjuna and Krishna are talking, they like to establish authority, so they like to quote the scriptures, you see. So that's the second truth, that Harim, or Krishna, is the highest truth. The next one is known as, it's called Sarva Shakti. Now this connects with Madhvacharya. He said the world is necessarily real. There's no mention in particular of energy. But anyway, Sarva Shakti. Anyone idea what that means? It's a very concise term. What do you think that means, Sarva Shakti? All powerful? Possessing all energies, right? So it said Radha Purna Shakti, Krishna Purna Shaktiman. Yeah, the highest, the full manifestation of Shakti is Radharani, and the possessor of the Shakti is Krishna. He's the full manifestation of the possessor. So there are so many Vishnu Shaktis, Vishnu Tattvas, and they're all known as Shaktiman. So this third truth is Sarva Shakti means Krishna possesses all potencies. Next one is Rasabdim. Abdi means ocean. So what does Rasabdim mean? He's the ocean of rasa. So who can give me a verse from the scriptures that says Krishna is the ocean of rasa or something similar? Yes, Akila Rasamrita Murti. That's the beginning of the what's it called? Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, exactly. So Akila Rasamrita Murti, he's the embodiment of all rasa. Then we go to the next line. Tad binangshan chajivam prakriti kavalitam tad vimukchangs cha bhavat. There's three more truths. The first one is tad binangshan chajivam means the jivas are part and parcel of Krishna. Angsha. Abhinangsha. Abhina means separated. So where in the Bhagavad Gita do we learn that the jivas are part and parcel of Krishna? Mamai vangsha jiva loki, jiva buddha sanatanam. Yes. We see how the Bhagavad Gita has all these truths. If you dig deep enough, you'll find all these truths. Now, just out of curiosity, before I started going through these truths, is there anyone here who already knew those truths? Of course, we know them when you hear them. Did anyone actually know the Dashamula Tattva, the truths, or this, and this? See, most of us don't, but when you hear them, you think, of course we know them, because Prabhupada has given us all those truths. He just hasn't called it the Dashamula Tattva. So, the next truth, Prakriti Kavalitam, is referring to those jivas. Some of them are conditioned souls. Right, that's the next truth. Because after establishing the jivas, he then says, some are conditioned. So where in the Bhagavad Gita does it say that there are conditioned souls? It's actually a verse we've already mentioned. Mamai vangsha jiva loke, jiva bhutas, mana sastranindrina, prakriti stani karshati. This word karshati, it's an interesting word. Krishi means plowing. It's sometimes said that Balaram, he's known as Haladar, he's a plow, and symbolically, not only does he plow the fields, but he plows our hearts. Krishi, so he plows the heart, makes it fertile for Krishna Bhakti to grow, the Bhakti Lada Bij. So it said, Nayam Atma Bala Hine Nalabhyaha. As Prabhupada used to quote this. There's one, it's an appearance day lecture of Lord Nityananda. Prabhupada quotes this verse from the Veda literature. Nayam Atma Bala Hine Nalabhya, which means without the mercy of Balaram, one cannot become self-realized. Now this verse is sometimes misunderstood. It's actually quoted in the Krishna book, this verse. It's misunderstood as physical strength. And Prabhupada would sometimes refer to Vivekananda, who said it's better to play football than study Bhagavad Gita. Apparently he said that. Or he said, better to grow eggplants and eat them, become strong, than to grow tulsi. He said these things. Anyway. And I shouldn't say it. I come from Scotland. Sometimes it's good not to mention names, but I'm from Scotland. We're a bit more. Vivekananda, he left the planet a long time ago, so I don't mind saying it. Anyway, we all know this. We see these things. Anyway, so Bala Hinena Labhyaha means when one has to have spiritual strength. Balaram gives us spiritual strength by which we become self-realized. So I was talking about the word karshati. So karshati means dragged, if you like. So we get the idea is the modes of nature, they drag us around. Yeah. Krishna Buli Se Jiva Anadi Bahimukha Ata Eva Maya Tara Deya Sangsara Dukkha. Since time immemorial we have forgotten Krishna, therefore Maya She gives us so much misery because we have turned our back on Krishna. So being dragged, karshati, prakriti, stani, karshati. We're situated in material nature and we're being pulled and we've been dragged around. So that's the truth. That was I think the fifth truth. We'll soon find out. The sixth truth. No, it's the sixth truth. The seventh truth, tad vimuktangs cha bhavat, means we discussed that some of the jivas are conditioned. The next truth is some are liberated. So any verses from the Bhagavad Gita talking about the liberated jivas? How to become liberated? Bhagavad Gita is all about how to become liberated, right? In the proper sense. How about mamai vangsha jiva loki? No, how about, I said that one already. It's, I meant to say something else. Mam chayo vyabicharini, bhakti yoga and sevati, sagunan samatitchaitam brahma bhuya salkalpati. That if we perform bhakti yoga, we transcend the modes of material nature and we attain the Brahma Bhuta platform, which ultimately means Brahma Buddha prasanatma na sochati na kankchati sama sarveshu buddhishu mad bhaktim labhate param. We attain pure devotional service. So some jivas are liberated. That's the seventh truth. The next truth, Beda Beda Prakasham Sakalam Mapi. Everything is simultaneously one with and different from the Lord. Everything, Sakalam. So the jivas are non-different from Krishna and different. Material energy is different and non-different. You know, the Krishna's associates are different and non-different. It's even said, this is not a mistake, Krishna's body is different and non-different. His body is Satchidananda, it's made of his energy, which is non-different from him. Therefore we say Krishna and Krishna's form are non-different. So these are categories, and if you want to go more into more detail, you can study Jiva Goswami Sandarbhas, because there, this Beda Beda, Chinta Beda Beda Tattva is analysed in more detail. And there's 4 different categories. And the analogy is given, if we have the sun, we have the sun planet, we have the surface of the sun, we have the rays of the sun, and we have a reflection of the sun. So we're becoming gradually more disconnected from the sun. So by analogy, Krishna's body is like the sun planet itself. The associates, the holy name, the abode is like the surface of the sun. Notice how the holy name is the surface of the sun, whereas Krishna's body is the sun planet itself. So we say that Krishna and his holy name are the same. Abhinatvan nami nami noho, or nama nami abeda. There's no difference between name and possessor. But in terms of Achincha Beda Beda Tattva, there is a slight difference because the name is classed, technically it's classed as Tad Rupa Vaibhav, which means it is like the surface of the sun in comparison to the sun. Krishna's associates are also of this category. Krishna's holy name, abode, and associates. And then when we get more, when the Beda becomes more prominent, then we have the rays of the sun, which are like the jivas. We're also one and different from Krishna, but we're more different. We're starting to go more and more different. And the material energy is one and different. Beda, Beda, Beda become Vishvam. Rupa Goswami says that the Vishva is the universe is Beda, Beda become. It's one with and different from Krishna. So where in the Bhagavad Gita is Beda Beda Tattva described? Perhaps. You're talking to the energy of the Lord, so the energy is non-different. I was thinking more along the lines of Matstani Sarva Bhutani in one verse, and then Nacha Matstani Bhutani. Yes, Maya Tatamidam Sarvam. This is all in the chapter 9. So in chapter 9, we get almost the paradox of saying all beings are within me, and then Krishna then later on says all beings are not within me. So in one sense he's one, and in another sense he's not. He says I am within everything. Everything is within me. Krishna's there. He's all-pervading. This idea of being one with the universe, he's all-pervading, but at the same time he's separate. So both concepts are there. So if you study the 9th chapter, the first few verses, you start to get the Beda Beda Tattva coming out. That's the 9th. The 10th is Harich Sadhana Shuddha Bhaktim, which means pure devotional service is our sadhana. It is our means of attaining perfection. Now some people might think, how can we perform pure devotional service as to get perfection, because pure devotional service is perfection. But there's a verse that describes how if one is properly endeavoring, one is considered a Jivan Mukta. Who knows that verse? Iha yasya harer dashi nikilashva privastasu Jivan Mukta Sauchati. If we're engaged, our body, mind, words, everything is engaged in service of Krishna, we are considered Jivan Mukta, even though we may have some samskara. That is how Prabhupada described this. I have a friend who has a different interpretation of the sloka, and we get into arguments. But I've seen quotes where Prabhupada uses it this way, that just to be properly situated in one's determination, one is considered Jivan Mukta. And Prabhupada would give the analogy of being on a boat. So if you're on a boat, the boat may wobble. So you can say, I'm in the ocean, I'm feeling the waves. But you're not in the ocean because you're on the boat, right? And if you stay on the boat, you'll get across the ocean. So we experience, as Vaishnavas, we may experience this world, all the waves of the modes. But if we're fixed in Krishna service, it doesn't really touch us. We remain fixed in our devotional service, and we feel it, but it doesn't properly affect us. Unless we fall from that platform, and then we start to really feel the waves again. I don't know about you, but I go up and down. Sometimes I feel quite aloof, and other times I feel the material energy is very, very strong, and I'm being very much pulled by it. So when that happens, we have to look very carefully at our sadhana. We have to look at our attitude. Are we serving devotees? Are we being offensive? Are we strict in our sadhana? Are we reading Prabhupada's books? Are we getting enough association with devotees? And we have to really look carefully at all the things that help us and nourish us, and we have to find out what it is we're missing. Sometimes it's overwork, Atchahara, Prayashascha, Prajalpa, talking loosely with our own people, Niyamagraha, maybe we chant 16 rounds for the sake of 16, not because we're trying to make a spiritual advancement. So many things, this is all in the nectar of instruction. We have to look very carefully at all these things if we're not feeling that we're coming off the boat. And the final tattva, we're talking 10 truths. Can anyone guess? I'll give you a clue. I mentioned before that the tattvas are classified as, number 1 is praman, where we get knowledge from, and the other 9 are prameya, what is learnt from the praman. Of the prameya, 8 of them are abhideya tattva. Actually, maybe the first one's Sambandha, Krishna's the Supreme Person of Godhead. The rest are abhideya, and the final one is prayojana, who's sleeping in the corner here. Prayojana, Prabhu? Haribo. I'm just joking. I'm only joking. So the final tattva, we had Hari Sadhana. Actually, I'm completely wrong there. The first tattva is Praman. The next 7 is Sambandha. My apologies. The 8th is Abhideya. And the 9th is Prayojana, or Sadhya. So the actual 9th one is, what is our goal? Prema. Who said Prema? Well, thank you. This actually ties back in with this pastime of Lord Chaitanya visiting the Tattvavadis, because when he asked them what is the goal, they said, Panchavida Mukta, 5 types of liberation. And Mahaprabhu rejected it and said, Prema is our goal. Love of Godhead is our goal. We don't want liberation. In fact, it said, Mokshavansha Kaitavo Pradhan. The greatest form of cheating is desiring liberation. And so our acharyas, when they comment on the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 2nd verse, Dharma Prajita Kaitavotra. The meaning is Dharma Pra-ujita. Ujita means to reject. Pra-ujita means to completely reject. And when our acharyas discuss this, they say the pra means prakrishta rupena. It's an intensifier. It means especially reject. So pra means the prakrishta rupena. The pra means here giving up even the desire for liberation, because that's the hardest to give up. It looks the best, it looks the most pious, it looks the most advanced, it's the most pleasurable, it's more pleasurable than sex life, but it's still cheating. So the Srimad Bhagavatam begins, Dharma Prajita Kaitavotra. We kick out all cheating religion. So are you happy to remain in this material world for eternity serving Krishna? If you don't, then you're not qualified. The Srimad Bhagavatam is for those persons who are on that platform. And if you're not on that platform, then read the Srimad Bhagavatam and you will become on that platform. It's not that you have to be on the platform to read it. If you want to properly understand it, then you have to have that. It's the Paramahansa Samhita. It's for the Paramahansas who are expert at distinguishing matter from spirit. So the desire for liberation is the material desire. So there's a famous verse in the 3rd canto. Divan Singapore, what is this famous verse about the giving up the 5 types of liberation? Sharsti, Salokya, Sharsti. Yeah. Yes. He said the last line, Bina mat sevanam janaha. Without seva, without service to Krishna, the devotees do not want Salokya Sarsti Samipya Sarupya Katvam Apyuta. Diyamana Nagrinante means even if they're offered, Bina mat sevanam janaha. Without service, they will not take. But that is opulence. You know, people think Bill Gates or Elon Musk is wealthy. But real wealth means you're offering me liberation? Forget it. I have something higher. I have Krishna Prema. I'm pretending. I don't have it. But that is real wealth. You know, so some of these, to get that, you have to become niskinchana. Niskinchana means you give up all material things. Niskinchanasya bhagavan bhajanon mukasya. Param param jigamashu bhavasagarasya. Sandarshinam vishainam atayashitangsha. Hanta hanta vishabhakshana topya sadhu. To become properly opulent, and in other words, to attain Krishna, to cross over this material ocean, you have to give up the association of women and women hunters. And you should see them as like poison. Hanta hanta vishabhakshana topya sadhu. It's like drinking poison. So that's the price. The price. We want Krishna Prema. You have to be prepared to give up. Nahya sanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. One cannot be a yogi unless one renounces the desire for sense gratification. And this renunciation is for everyone. It's not just for people who carry sticks and wear saffron. Okay? Only a few people do that formally, but actually, to go back to Godhead, we all have to become renounced, and we can do it even in Grihastha life. There is a Prabhupada purport where he talks about giving 50% of your income, then you are sannyas. Okay? So there's a standard. Don't penny pinch, give as much as you can to Krishna. It hurts, but no pain, no gain, as they say, right? So these are the truths, the 10 truths. So I've asked about the Bhagavad Gita for most of them. So here's the question. Where is Priti? Priti means love of Godhead. Where is that found in the Bhagavad Gita? Them? That's back to you. How about the word Priti? Yes, what is the verse? It's one of the seed verses. The Dami, Buddha Yogam Tam. Yeah. So Bhajati Priti Purvakam, the word Priti means prema. It comes from the same word. It's the same root, the pra dhatu. It is as opposed to the kam dhatu. Kama means lust. Priti means love. Sometimes the gopis are said to have kam for Krishna, but that's another usage of the word. Generally it's said, kama prema don hakara bahuta antara. Kama andatama prema nirmala bhaskara. That kama prema are opposites. Kama is like andatama, the darkness of ignorance, and prema is like nirmala bhaskara, like the rising sun or the shining sun, okay? So kama and prema, they look similar. Lauha are hema jaitsi swarapi vilakshana, like iron and gold. So iron and gold is a lovely analogy because iron is similar to gold, and yet it's very different from gold. Both similar and different. So lust and love, they're similar and different. Therefore, when our acharyas try and describe prema, they have to use language that we understand, and they say it's like the conjugal relationship between a man and a woman, and we may not experience that level of prema, but we understand the material analogy, you see. So that's a nice analogy. So that's where priti, it's interesting that the word prema does not appear in the Sanskrit of Bhagavad Gita. Now, if you look at the Srimad Bhagavatam, it appears almost 100 times in the verses. But when you come to Caitanya-caritāmṛta, it appears in today's verse. Where does it appear? Prema Madhya, yes. So my database is kind of broken, so I can't get the number of counts. But if you type prema or words related to prema, and you look at the verses of Caitanya-caritāmṛta, you will find hundreds and hundreds of verses where prema is mentioned. And in here it's prema Madhya. Mahaprabhu, he's known as Prema Purushottam, which means he is that incarnation of the Lord that manifests prema. Okay? So that's what I wanted to say. And thank you very much for your time. And I'm going to finish on one little thing, because I wrote a little reminder of all the points I wanted to mention. And there's one that there's two actually I really wanted to mention, which I forgot. We mentioned, because we're discussing Sampradaya, I'll give you a breakdown of that word. Daya means to give. Like, for example, Bhaktisnanda Saraswati, Caitanya-caritāmṛta Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayine Prabhave Namaha. He's the giver of Krishna Sambandha. You know, the knowledge of Krishna. Dayine. So da means to give. So daya in Sampradaya means to give. And sam means to completely give. And pra, I mentioned pra before, prakrishta rupena, means when you want to emphasize something. So if you want to give, and you want to completely give, and you want to really emphasize it, then you have the word sampradaya, which means we're giving the highest. We're all part of the sampradaya. We're there to give the highest. So that, if you want to know why this word sampradaya, where it comes from, it means the chain through which the highest thing is given. And one other thing I wanted to mention, and this is something that Bhaktisanda Saraswati, he referred to. Madhvacharya, one of his teachings is known as Vishnu Sarva Namatva. And it's a wonderful concept. What it means is everything that we hear, all language, ultimately refers to Vishnu and to Bhakti Yoga. You just have to have the vision. You just have to have that vision. You know, it's like, give an example. Say you're deeply in love with someone. Then maybe they wear a certain type of clothes. If you see the cloth, you're reminded of them. Like we have the example of Mukunda, the physician. He was fanning a Muslim king because he saw the peacock feather fan. Immediately he thought of Krishna and he fell unconscious. So if you're very advanced spiritually, then everything will remind you of Krishna. So it said, Vishnu Sarvatva Namatva means every speech, all speech is actually devotional service. It is referring to Vishnu and Bhakti Yoga. And if you're not on that platform, don't imitate it, because then it will be prajalpa, you see? If we're not on that platform, our speech will be prajalpa, and we'll say, oh, that's Krishna. Well, it is Krishna, but you're not seeing it as Krishna. If someone's a pure devotee, that pure devotee will hear prajalpa as devotional. It will be pure devotional kata. Back to Peter Prabhu. You're about to ask me something or say something. Do we have the microphone? I'm going to stop in 5 minutes' time. I'm just going to leave a little time for comments and questions. It's Cambridge Rath Yatra today, everyone, by the way.
So maybe the best example, because it's Rath Yatra today. So on Rath Yatra, Lord Chaitanya was quoting a mundane romantic poetry verse.
Yes.
And then he was completely, everyone was surprised.
Hara sa eva hivaras ta eva kshaitra chapas. Yes. So apparently it was a mundane song, but then when Mahaprabhu took it, it became very, very significant. And then Rupa Goswami took that same song and revealed the meaning. The meaning was Radharani's feeling the separation from Krishna, and she's saying, you're the same Krishna, you know, we're here at Kurukshetra, but something's missing. What is missing? Anyone remember? Krishna's there, Radha's there, but something's missing. Vrindavan's missing. So he said, but I want to take you back to the bank of the Yamuna in the forest of Vrindavan. Or in the other version, Reva Rodasi Chetasi. Anyway, Reva Rodasi Vetasi. How's the rest go? Taru Tale Cheta samutkantate. The mundane lover's thinking, I want to take you to the Reva tree where we met previously in the mundane love song. And of course the Reva tree then becomes, and the river then becomes the Yamuna River and the forest of Vrindavan. Okay, any other questions or comments before I wrap up? Because I think we're hungry and it's time for prasadam. Prabhuji, thank you. Yes, a comment from Prabhuji. Yes, yes. I think so. Are you going to correct me? Tell me. Oh, okay. Yes. Yes. So it's there without... Yes, if you see it. Yes. But the word isn't there, but it's there. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Because Bhagavad Gita is the topmost scripture, and it's non-different from Krishna, and therefore one who sees the Bhagavad Gita as a lesser scripture, that is offensive. So thank you very much, Prabhuji. It is very good. Daimar Singha? Oh, you finished? Okay. Grantaraj Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta Madhya ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So around 12:30-ish in Cambridge, we'll have a Rath Yatra. The minibus is going, but I think it's booked up, but you can always ask. If you can make your way to Cambridge, if you want to go to Rath Yatra. Hare Krishna.